This is Nelson Olmsted. I'm going to tell you the story of Madeline. She's a friend of mine, and soon she'll be a friend of yours. Ludwig Bemelman wrote the story, and we dressed it up in music by Franz Schubert, his incidental music to Rosamunde. Together, Bemelmans and Schubert make a fine musical story of Madeline. In an old house in Paris that was covered with vines lived 12 little girls in 2 straight lines. In 2 straight lines, they broke their bread and brushed their teeth and went to bed. From their teacher and friend, dear Miss Clavel, they learned good manners and they learned to spell. Each day they left the house at 9 for a walk in rain or shine. The smallest one was Madeline. She was not afraid of mice. She loved winter, snow, and ice. To the tiger in the zoo, Madeline just said, pooh-pooh. But nobody knew so well how to frighten Miss Clavel. One day they all walked through the park, and then home they went long before dark. They went to bed after prayers and good nights, and dear Miss Clavel turned out all the lights. But on this night, all was not well. A very small sound woke Miss Clavel. Madeline sat up in her bed. Madeline wept. Her eyes were red. Madeline had a peculiar pain which Miss Clavel could not explain. She hurried to the telephone and called their good friend Dr. Cohn. To Miss Clavel, the doctor said, "We're taking Madeline to another bed. Of this I've not the slightest doubt. Madeline's having her appendix out." In a very fast car with a bright red light, the doctor took Madeline through the night. Madeline slept for hours and hours and woke up smelling pretty flowers. On her bed was a strange little crank. By her side stood a nurse with some juice which she drank. And a crack on the ceiling had the habit of sometimes looking like a rabbit. But where was the house all covered with vines? And where were her playmates in 2 straight lines? The nurse smiled and told her what it was about. And Madeline learned her appendix was out. From her own sunny room, Madeline watched the sky and the birds and the trees, and the time flew by. But often she thought of the house with the vines and her playmates, the girls in the 2 straight lines. And the girls who lived in the 2 straight lines had not forgotten Madeline. Matter of fact, that very same day, Miss Clavel looked out, and they heard her say, "The sun's in the sky, the weather is fine. Today we will visit Madeline." They found a sign outside her door which said, "Visitors from 2 to 4. In 2 straight lines, they tiptoed through that door to visit, well, you guess who. Madeline showed them her bed with the crank and the fine sweet fruit juice which she drank, and the crack in the ceiling that had the habit of sometimes looking like a rabbit, and the toys and candy which had come each day to help her pass the time away. Then Miss Clavell told them to close their eyes because Madeline had a big surprise. And it was the greatest surprise by far, for on Madeline's tummy she had a scar. And oddly enough on Madeline, that scar showed up as one straight line. Then Madeline's friends in 2 straight lines set off for the house all covered in vines. They all went home and broke their bread and brushed their teeth and went to bed in 2 straight lines. But later, in the middle of the night, up sat Miss Clavell and turned on the light. She heard a sound that made her fear something was wrong. She said, "Oh, dear." She ran to the beds and said, "Tell me, please do, what in the world is troubling you?" And the straight-line girls all cried, "Boo-hoo! We want to have our appendix out, too." Miss Clavell smiled. She knew they were fine. She knew they were thinking of Madeline. She spoke to them softly in her nice, soft way, and this is what she had to say. "Good night, little girls. Thank the Lord you are well. And now straight to sleep," said Miss Clavell. And she turned out the light and closed the door. And that's all there is. There isn't any more. Good night.